So, hi, my name is Wændy, and this is day 1 of class with Wændy. And it's really more of what I loved about class, which is just show and tell. So, I'm gonna show up, I'm gonna shine, I'm gonna share. And if you have a channel that shows up, shines, and shares what you learned about and what you love, I would love to learn from you. I love words, and so I will share words, but I'm so much more than words as well. And I do have like a custom Pokemon deck to show you, and why I don't date, and why structural engineering teaches us about the importance of words and the way that words build our world. So that's my show up, shine, and share that I get to share with you today. And if you have a channel, please leave it in the comments. Follow me, subscribe. I would love to follow you and learn from you. So here we go. First off, Pokemon decks. So first time I was making a Pokemon deck, I was kind of like, you know, like when they collect cans like for a food drive. And I remember as a kid, I would like kind of like go get the things that we didn't eat, like the beets and the beans and just kind of like the random stuff. And I was like, okay, we're not using these cans, like we can give these away. And then like as I got older, especially when I had my own kids, I started to think as a mother, and I was like, wait, like they can't make anything really amazing with these random things. And I was like, no, I would really like to give them something that I actually want to eat, you know, because I mean, at times actually as a kid, we did kind of live off of some food donations, and then even just when my kids were younger, there were hard times. You know, 2008 was not a good year, but hopefully we don't really get back there. It's kind of sketchy now too, right? But this one is a one. It was based off of a princess, Elsa's little snow guy, Olaf. And I even put on here, remember your roots, because Olaf says that water has memory. I want to show you that. Here we go. Is it gonna go? Focus, focus, focus. Okay, I don't know. Anyway, and anyway, so just lots of really cute, like wintry things. I think I forget the name of this creature. It's like oh, my friend showed me today. It's AX something. Okay, anyway, but this deck, and then I'll tell you my dating no-nos, and yes. Okay, so this cute little like snow ice cream guy. He's really cute, vanilla-ish. Ice baby. We just need I guess it could have been a vanilla ice deck if I were to rebrand it. And we have this like snow guy, and he's cute, and he gets like old, grows up, becomes an adult, and then he like ends up in rage, you know, like a snowman in summer. Although Olaf had a better idea about it. Then you have this cute little Chubchoo. He's just like this cute like teddy bear, and then he goes rawr. But it becomes like this like snow monster bear thing that Elsa makes, you know? Like that's pretty awesome. I actually was like geeking out the fact that I was able to pull a deck together based on princess, or just the idea of something not Pokemon. Okay, and then Snover, he's cute. He had to make it in there. And this one I like loved. I was just like, oh my gosh, how do you have like a Pokemon that's like an ice crystal? Like this kind of like made it. But what I will say is this cute little cast form. I actually didn't think he was coming up yet. There's like a water rain one and a sun one too. So I'm building another deck. Actually, the sun one I'm putting into kind of like a princess, like, no, like an Egyptian like theme. I think I was gonna call it like Ra or Don't Play with Fire. I don't know. Actually, pyramid, something with that theme. That would be really fun. And then I didn't have like a good V. I have Lapras in here because that's what I had. Where is it? Oh, here. And then this one does have like the little snow trainer back there. And so I'm like, that one works. But these don't really, and I just didn't have any better cards, so I'll probably switch them out. If you have suggestions for like what would be amazing to like finish off this like collection, I would love to know in the comments. Just let me know. If you have a Pokemon channel too, I do love Pokemon. Just gonna say, building decks is kind of a new art for me, but like I do love it. So, but yeah, I would love your suggestions on that, and like what else you think would be amazing as a custom themed box deck. Okay, and then dating. I made a list once, and I was gonna do one of those like dating sites, and then as I read through the list, I was like, wait, the qualities I would be looking for in another human being are really just qualities that I want for me. And so I dropped it. I decided I would like to actually just meet people in the random wild world and make sense of life from there. But you know what, I'm not like looking for someone, and so life just happens, and sometimes it's a little bit lonely actually. It feels kind of like beautiful to go out there and be like, who are you? But then I'm like, I don't really want to date. Like, the idea of being dated makes me feel like a carbon test of some sort. Like, are you a chicken or are you a dinosaur bone? How old are you? Can you have children? Are you religious? And it becomes like weird. And then I think, you know, just like I thought I would make a list of like someone I would like to find out there, people are making their own lists, and are they really just looking for themselves? Maybe. And so when I meet people in the random, it just like in the wild world, I really just end up making more friends, and then realizing everyone's life is really kind of like messy and weird, and they're not always ready for a new friend, especially one so overly affectionate like I am. And so just makes life interesting, right? Okay, now for story time, because learning why words and structural engineering connect is really what opened my eyes to the fact that every single language and every single discipline can communicate. And actually it's really important that we have like dives so deeply into all the disciplines, but it's time now like to bring them back together. And it's important for perspective, for contrast, for understanding all the applications of certain sounds and words. And this is demonstrated really well by the story of the Tower of Babel, which happens to be the first opening sequence in this book. And that was kind of a surprise to me. I thought I was just getting an engineering book. I didn't know I was getting a book that was going to teach me more about engineering, language, and just the connective world that we live in. So, and more about religion, just in general, like what the function has been of religion, which is just so boxed into this structure, these harsh, like rigid, boxed in structures. Because you know what boxes are good for? Preservation. We all live in boxes. Why? Because it preserves us, it protects us, and we have a name, we have a family, and that kind of an idea. Except, yeah. But boxes don't necessarily make life thrive, but they do preserve the things that we need to survive. Does that make sense? And to preserve things. So anyway, function for everything. Nothing's good or bad. Just start to really see how all works together, and your world will just come alive, and you will no longer demonize anything or judge things. And tip, what you don't judge in yourself, you won't judge in others. If you never shame yourself, you will never shame others. And if someone has shamed you and you accepted that judgment and shame, the unfortunate thing is you will actually look to displace that on someone else. So the best thing to do is just don't let judgment stick to you. That's easier said than done, especially with trauma, I will just say, but just watch for those patterns. I found that just as I love myself, I love others. If I don't shame myself, I literally don't feel shame or judgment towards anyone's situation. And I think that actually helped me probably have an open mind towards all language and discipline and versions of the story that we're telling. So here you go, story. The structure in our lives, or he says, how to communicate with engineers. Let me know if you're an engineer, if this makes sense to you. As men journeyed in the east, they came upon a plain in the land of Shinar and settled there. They said to one another, "Come, let us make bricks and bake them hard." They used bricks for stones and bitumen for mortar. "Come," they said, "let us build ourselves a city and a tower with its top in the heavens and make a name for ourselves, or we shall be dispersed all over the earth." Then the Lord came down to see the city and tower which mortal men had built, and he said, "Here they are, one people with a single language. And now they have started to do this. Henceforth, nothing they have a mind to do will be beyond their reach. Come, let us go down there and confuse their speech, so that they will not understand what they say to one another." So the Lord dispersed them from there all over the earth, and they left off building the city. That is why it is called Babel, or Babel. That is Babylon, because the Lord there made a babel of the language of all the world. This is in Genesis 11, 2-9, New English Bible. Now, when you hear words, I want you to also see words. See the way that they're built like building blocks. The collective sound is its own block, okay? Or I guess like each individual sound are building blocks that become a collection of blocks is more like what I was trying to say. It's getting late and I'm tired. Okay, and then mortar and mortal, those have shared sounds. That's really interesting to think about. And then Babel and Babylon. Now, it says here that the Lord named of this because he confounded the languages. But if you notice, they said, we want to make a name for ourselves. We want to build this thing, or we shall be dispersed over all the earth. They already knew it was coming. That's interesting to me. I love the take that J.E. Gordon has on this, because he says, a structure has been defined as any assemblage of materials which is intended to sustain loads. So he talks and he goes into the sustaining load, or I guess the ability for brick and mortar to sustain the load that is placed on it. Because if you're going to double a cube, I believe it's like an 8-fold increase. Like if you're to scale it up, I mean. So, and he says, and the study of structures is one of the traditional branches of science. If an engineering structure breaks, people are likely to get killed. And so engineers do well to investigate the behavior of structures with circumspection. And I do this for businesses with their words, and I try to help them basically as like a word engineer or a structural word engineer. I get to say, hey, look, like you actually are building a structure that will fall or is not sustainable for the load that you are putting upon it. And so it is important that we understand all the different ways. And maybe I just need to understand it and sit with someone's words. But as you think about words, really start to kind of like give it time, I think, to like percolate in your soul and open you up to the fact that the words have power, okay? And I'll just keep demonstrating in every class, and you will see just how important words are and how much power they can actually have over you if you don't know what you're doing. So, especially when you're trying to build something that is meant to help people, you want to build it in a way that it will also not break you or be unsustainable. Okay. He says here, but unfortunately, when they come to tell people about their subject, something goes badly wrong. So like when you talk to engineers, or when engineers actually are trying to talk to people about their structures and engineering, he says, for they talk in a strange language. Engineers do. To me, no. I understand it because I understand structure of language. It's just structure, it's just physics. But he says, and some of us are left with the conviction that the study of structures and the way in which they carry loads is incomprehensible, irrelevant, and very boring indeed. And so I'm just going to say, and I'll probably just stop there. And honestly, the book is worth the read. But the truth is, everything that we understand today is because people have dedicated their lives to study in depth. And at the time of the Tower of Babel, they had one language. And how vast or how dynamic was the understanding of that language? Were they typically, not typically, but like, were they essentially like babies speaking Babel? Did they say words but not know the power of the words? My guess would be yes. There was something lacking there. If you have just one discipline to explain engineering, you don't realize that story structure mirrors physics. And you don't understand then like how we use words now versus like anciently is the same function, even if it's a different practice or a different demonstration of it. Like the word for coach, we would attach horses to a coach and it would, pull the carriage or the coach. Now we fly coach, which is probably hopefully a little bit more comfortable than a horse carriage or a coach, to go cross country. And so, but we also still, like we used to coach and train horses, and let's just use that example. Now we coach and train athletes, both for performance and anyway. And so there's just a lot to words and the way that we use them, but the sounds themselves retain their function, even if we change the application of them. And then the function itself of the sounds, basically, like, it's like you can't separate that. And if you try, it's kind of, it messes with us. Like our sense of like understanding of that word, it may actually fall out of use if it's not applied in appropriate ways. Kind of a cool example from a couple years ago, the word yeet was being used, and my kids would use yeet, and I was like, what is yeet, and they're like, well, it's like shooting for a 3-pointer, or like if you do something really good and you throw it and you make it, like you hit the basket, and but you're aiming for a mark. And they're like explaining these things to me, and I'm like, okay, so there's like this ancient like symbol that precedes Hebrew or whatever, and it's an arm, like a little stick arm. You can think of like, how am I gonna do? Oh, like this. It's like a stick figure of that, like up the arm even. And that's your Y sound, as well as like your EE sound. And I'm like, okay, and so tell me more. So we're throwing and then towards a mark or basket, right? And then like the T sound in the ancient like pictographs is either a mark, which is like a cross, like 2 cross sticks, or a basket. And I'm like, wait, the cross mark one is more of a TH sound. The basket is just T. And I was like, so like throwing with your arm to like a mark that is to the basket is yeet. And they're like, yes. And I'm like, but it's like these ancient symbols. It's like the ancient symbols mean the word that they made up. Explain that. We must have an intuitive sense in us, and something that we're all trying to discover. And if we're trying to build, let's just say, a structure when our language is in its infancy and we're using words and without understanding the authority of those sounds and the power of those sounds, are we going to build a structure that is safe? No. And then it's going to be like, see, we did it. And then the confidence, right, rages and soars, and then really it's going to topple and hurt someone eventually. So there's my plug for why we study words. If you want to study like the ancient pictographs that I mentioned, Jeff Brenner has a site called ancient-hebrew.org, and he puts like the cultural Hebrew understanding to all of these symbols. I have definitely studied and read this and scoured it, but I do know that there's so much more application to this than just biblical Hebrew. But the biblical Hebrew, the beautiful thing, again, back to religion, is that it is a box, and it did preserve and does preserve certain ideas. But anyway, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for just being here, for being at class 1. Maybe next week will be class 1 again. I kind of like 1. Maybe it's just what it is. It's just class 1. First class, class 1. First class sounds like X-Men, doesn't it? Oh well. Class 1 with Wændy. That's what we'll go with, because you know what? I thought maybe it would be like sequential, but I'm gonna run out of fingers.